Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sprint 226 review. This was a 2-week sprint, but we had the US had a Thanksgiving break in the middle, so it was a little bit abbreviated. And well, let's get started. I'll start with the overview. David will do the UI, Adam on providers, Joe on the platform, and Keenan on the API. Even though it was an abbreviated sprint, it was still pretty normal with 70 PRs merged this sprint. And a pretty even split between enhancements and bugs. And over to David on the UI.
Yeah, so for this sprint, there were 10 PRs merged in the UI Classic repo. 5 are bug fixes and 2 are enhancements, and the other 3 we'll get to in a bit. For our first bug fix, we have the fix copy time profile error. Basically, Gilbert found that there is an error when trying to copy a time profile that would prevent the page from loading. He fixed this by correcting a variable check, so the page should load correctly now. Next, we have the use new dedicated my settings view permission. This is related to a number of different fixes involving permissions in the my settings page. Previously, even if users had permissions, they were running into all kinds of errors while trying to view the page. So now that should all be resolved, and they should be able to view the page without any problems. Next, we have the fixed service reconfigure form and request summary pages. Basically, when the Explorer section was removed previously in the services pages, the reconfigure service button or form was accidentally partially removed. This change brings it back, so when you click on the button, the form should load correctly now. Next, we have the fix for custom button action events. Same situation as the previous fix, except in this case, it was the custom button action form that was missing. Now it should be brought back just like normal. And then for first enhancement, we have the integrating the code mirror into MIQ structured list component. This change just moves the existing code mirror component into the MIQ structured list component. The MIQ structured list component is basically just what we use to show all the summary pages. It's all the different subcomponents. This change is purely visual. Everything should otherwise work the same. And then for our next enhancement, we have the replace.hamllint.yaml file with a system link to robocop.yaml. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then for our last 3 PRs, 2 of them are related to updating packages and Yarn. And then the final one is just a change that cleans up some of the code and component definitions common.js. Again, no changes to the user experience here. It's just to make the code easier to understand. And that's it for the UI. I'll pass it on to Adam for the providers now.
All right, and for providers this sprint, Joe updated the Amazon provider to use YAML safe load so that it can work properly with both Cyc 3 and 4 as part of the upgrade process to Ruby 3.1. For Azure, we fixed a deprecated argument for the inventory refresh lazy find method so that we can get rid of some deprecation warnings that are in the logs. And for VMware, Joe updated the VMware provider to use unsafe load to load some test fixtures. Nothing that impacted the production code, but it was failing when running the test with Ruby 3.1. Next slide. For workflows, we bumped the flow gem to pull in a fix for the Kubernetes runner so that it will handle image pull errors properly. Previously, it was waiting indefinitely because Kubernetes says that the pod was pending when it in fact is never going to run, and we treat that as an error now. And for the flow gem, we extracted the run container parameters to reduce some code duplication between the podman and the Docker runner classes. And we're also now returning an error payload if the run async failure raises an exception. Previously, this was raising all the way up, and now you're able to handle the error payload properly as part of your workflow. That's it for providers. Over to Joe.
Thanks, Adam. For platform enhancements and improvements, Keenan enhanced the EMS refresh task name and how it was displayed in the UI to be more user-friendly. I added support for using the newer YAML gem Psych version 4 in the automation engine. Jason had many enhancements to the bot in the work to make it more current, with primarily going to Ruby 2.7 and Rails 6.1, along with many other changes. And also Brandon and Keenan had a lot of cleanup to make the bot repo current, removing some functionality that we no longer use. So that was great. Keenan simplified the RBAC filter search method. Jason updated Yarn to the stable 4.0.2 version. And I updated the non-English message catalogs with newer translations. Next slide, please. For platform bugs, Jason added the My Settings View product feature to this My Settings page to allow user roles who don't have permission to My Settings to at least see their own settings. Related to that, Jason also allowed users to list and see themselves even in the RBAC pages without having permissions to RBAC. Brandon locked the Psych dependency in the RPM build to Psych versions less than 4 because newer versions weren't building properly. And I fixed an issue in the locale dropdown, which showed the Chinese locale based on spoken locale, Mandarin, when it should have shown the written locale, traditional Chinese. That's it for the platform.
For the API, this enhancement was already mentioned by Joe, in that Jason had added had enhanced rather this show in the user controller so that users can see themselves. On to Jason.
Okay, and that's it for our Sprint 226 review. Our next Sprint review, 227, will be on December 13th at the normal place and time. And as always, I'd like to thank all of our presenters today, all the contributors to Manage IQ, and our community. Thank you.